Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. Let's get straight down to it, shall we? So obviously, huge fight this weekend in Melbourne. George Kambosos Jr. versus Devin Haney for all the marbles, undisputed, lightweight championship of the world. How's it going to go down? Well, I've tried to weigh this up, try to put on my neutral hat, and there's lots of pros and cons for Kambosos for sure, but my final prediction is a late stoppage for Haney. I can't see him being awarded a points decision. So if he doesn't stop him, I see a very controversial point win for George Kambosos because he's in Australia and it will be a classic case of what happened to Manny Pacquiao with Jeff Horn if Haney doesn't win emphatically. So I think he understands he needs to go for the knockout. I think he will get the knockout, and I think he'll wear Kambosos down ultimately to get the job done. But it's going to be uncomfortable at times. There's no question about it. Kambosos is game. He's a live dog. He's aggressive, he's tough, he's durable. He's not going to give it to Haney. That's a fact. He's not going to swallow. I don't think the pressure on nerves is going to get to him. I think that was evident in the Lopez fight. But I just think Haney's got too much boxing skill for him, as long as he keeps his head. I think Haney's big skill, and I'm not saying he's Mayweather, make no mistake, he's no Mayweather, but he can adapt, he can adjust, and at the elite level, that's what the top fighters do. I don't think Kambosos can. I think he's a one-dimensional fighter, whereas Haney's a three-dimensional fighter. I think Haney's punch variety is the big key here as well. He can break you down systematically to the body and the uppercut. And I think someone like Kambosos who charges in, obviously looking for the lead hooks, is susceptible for the uppercut. And I think being a smaller man as well, he's going to try and crouch down and that will lend himself to the uppercut. A bit like how Tyson at times was vulnerable to the uppercut. People used to try and target him, albeit with not huge success. Bruno did it. Witherspoon did it. These fighters who crouch and try and fight aggressively are susceptible to the uppercut. And I think Haney's best punch against Jojo, for instance, was the uppercut, and he knocked him out a few times with that, and I think that's going to get to Kambosos. But I expect the first couple of rounds to be live. I expect them to be very competitive, probably splitting rounds as they go up to about 6. Now I think Haney's going to catch him and hurt him. I think the reason why Lopez fought and lost to Kambosos was he started so slow. He was overconfident, despite what he says. He overlooked Kambosos and he went four rounds down. Got badly knocked over in round 3, I believe. And he was always playing catch up. But ultimately, when Lopez turned it on and started to focus and realise what was in front of him, for me, he started to take over the fight. And I think Haney will be like Lopez was late on in the fight from the word go, because he's now got his eyes open to Kambosos. He's not going to be dismissive like Lopez was. He's not going to be overconfident. He's going to be switched on from the start, and I think that's going to be the big difference. Ultimately, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to Kambosos, but he won the lottery against Lopez, a cocky, brash, 23-year-old, a bit like Tyson versus Douglas. Believed his own hype, beat an injured Loma and thought he was better than he was, and ultimately came a cropper. Still a very good fighter, and as you could see that towards home straight, a better fighter than Kambosos, but he left it too late. And Kambosos, tough, hungry, confident after round 6, dug in, and I gave him winning like the last two of the last 6, which earned him that win, and rightfully so, in a competitive fight. But I don't think it's going to be happening with Haney. The only thing is, I really hope it doesn't happen, is the Australian judge, Australian venue, Lou DiBella Promotions, It's not an Eddie Hearn's own, is it? It's a Ludi Bella. It's top rank. We know that the issues that top rank have with their judging. We know Bob Arum's issue with Eddie Hearn. I worry he's Haney going to get a fair crack if it goes to the judges, and it's competitive, and it will be competitive. This is what worries me. We don't want another robbery, but it could well happen. Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn, got robbed in Australia. Pacquiao vowed there was a fight there again. Certainly not to rematch Horn. And I just hope that doesn't happen to Haney. I think, it could well happen though, because Haney hasn't got huge punch power. He breaks down, like I said, systematically. But Kambosos in front of his home crowd will be a tough game, and he won't want to be stopped. I think he'll keep going. I think the referee will give him the benefit of the doubt. He got good survival instincts at times against Lopez when he got floored in the 10th. He hung on, he scraped, he clawed, so he can hang on. But I think Haney knows he needs to go for the knockout. I think having Judah's dad in the corner is good. He'll make him fight aggressively. I think when he sees Kambosos hurt, I think his hand speed, his punch output and his punch variety is better. And I do think he'll back Kambosos up. I think he'll time him coming in with a hook, and then he'll beat him up slowly against the ropes, probably for around 9 round 10 TKO victory. I think Kambosos will go out on his feet. He'll keep swinging. I don't think it'll be a 10 count, but I think the referee will have to step in. And that's how I see that fight playing out. I think Kambosos is too short. He hasn't got a huge... I think Haney will keep him at range with his jab and his movement. Obviously, Kambosos will try and get in. I think his style, the blueprint, is to do what Mandana did to Mayweather. Get inside, keep it short, rough him up, get the hooks on, beat him to the body, and look to land a big vicious hook to Haney's chin. And he's got good hand speed, Kambosos, but I just think Haney's going to be too clever. I think he's going to be too switched on, especially watching that Lopez fight. And I think there will be uncomfortable moments for him. Of course there will, especially with a roaring crowd and early on. But I think he'll weather that storm. Like I say, I won't be surprised going into 6. It's 3-3, even 4-2 Kambosos. But I think Haney will, like Mayweather did, he'll download the data and start figuring out Kambosos' patterns, his fighting style, and he'll make adjustments. And I think Kambosos cannot, and that will be the big difference. And I think he'll start to time Kambosos. I think he'll start to system him back and beat him up to the body and the uppercut. And I think eventually he'll break him down and stop him on the ropes with a flurry. Because Haney can be aggressive when he sees a man hurt. And I think he'll be extra aggressive in his fight, knowing he doesn't want to risk it going to the judges. So I expect that to play out. And then, of course, ultimately it's the big fight against Loma, which is another fight altogether for Haney. But, I think obviously Haney not having his dad in his corner, not having Eddie Hearn is a big thing. Obviously, he's not going to have many people cheering from him in Australia. But I think he's mentally tough enough to deal with that. I really do. I think, had it been a year ago, not so sure. But, he seems a very confident, accomplished young man. And I think he'll be okay. I think he really will. And I think he'll block out the crowd. I think he's a man on a mission. I think he knows he wants to get the belt. This is a big opportunity, possibly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I don't think he'll blow it. I think he'll be peak. I think he'll be sharp. And I think he'll come home for the belts. With all the belts undisputed, calling the shots. And ultimately, and then I want to see him fight Loma. Not duck Loma, but fight Loma for the undisputed crown. But Kambosos is a great fighter, but he's not, for me, elite. I don't put him in the top 5. I really don't. I think he's just below that, and I think that will show on tomorrow night in Melbourne. I put Haney probably 2 or 3. I think Loma's the best still in the division, but time will tell. Because obviously Loma's getting older, Haney's getting more and more accomplished. I think Garcia is too inactive. I think Tank is right up there as well. I think Lopez is still there, but he obviously needs to make adjustments and probably needs a few comeback fights. So, Haney's class, and I just think it's going to be too much for Kambosos tomorrow night. Skills pay the bills, and ultimately Haney will pay his tomorrow night and win the undisputed title.